the most dangerous ingredient you've never heard of. The #1 most dangerous ingredient in the entire world is not what you think. This ingredient is worse than high fructose corn syrup. It's worse than sugar. It's worse than starches. And it's worse than seed oils. Based on mice and rat studies, it's considered a Class A carcinogen, which means it's a probable carcinogen in humans. A carcinogen is something that causes cancer, and this ingredient is a very potent neurotoxin. It doesn't just affect your nerves, it messes with your brain too. It also disrupts reproductive organs. And this is validated by several international cancer associations. Even the EPA classifies this ingredient as a carcinogen. Here's the kicker: you won't find this ingredient on the label. Why? Because it's not an ingredient. It's a byproduct created when you process certain foods and add heat. What is this byproduct chemical? It's called acrylamide. Acrylamide is created when you combine a certain protein with a sugar under high heat. The first part of this video is going to be as simple as I can make it, and I'll get into some more technical details later. Stick around, because I'm also going to give you some good news: how to neutralize acrylamide and protect yourself. Let's dive in. %40 of our foods contain acrylamide. You won't get this chemical reaction with natural sugars like sugarcane or even honey. It has to be a refined sugar, like glucose, dextrose, a synthetic sugar, glucose syrup, or maltodextrin. A starch so badly processed, it turns into sugar almost instantly. When you combine these refined sugars with certain proteins, like modified food starch or modified cornstarch, and then add heat, you get acrylamide. And here's the kicker. When you heat something up, you usually use oil, right? At fast food restaurants, fries aren't fried without oil. On top of all the bad effects from seed oils, sugar, and starches, which create inflammation and damage your organs, you now have acrylamide, the most deadly of them all. It puts us at risk for cancer. But here's something fascinating. If you use a saturated fat instead of seed oils to fry your French fries, you don't get acrylamide. Before the 1990s, when McDonald's fried their fries in tallow, beef fat, you didn't get acrylamide. Even though that you had the protein and starch, the saturated fat protected against the formation of acrylamide. So what if all these junk foods were made with tallow or coconut oil instead of seed oils? That would reduce the cancer risk right off the bat. Would it be completely harmless? Probably not, but it would be a lot less toxic. What foods contain acrylamide? Here's the list. Corn chips, potato chips, French fries, baked goods, crackers, cookies, breakfast cereals, the crust in bread, and even roasted coffee. Before you freak out, because I know you probably drink coffee like I do, there's a very simple way to reduce acrylamide in coffee. Just hang in there. I'll get to that in a moment. Now that you know about acrylamide and how it's created, let's talk about how to avoid it, or if you accidentally consume it, how to counter its effects. I already mentioned one way to reduce acrylamide. Use saturated fats like tallow, coconut oil, or butter. Saturated fats are more stable and protect against the formation of acrylamide. Another tip: use natural sugars like sugarcane or honey instead of refined sugars. Refined sugars, like high fructose corn syrup, dextrose, and glucose syrup, are the culprits here. At home, when you're cooking, try to keep the temperature low. Slow cooking reduces the chemical reaction that creates acrylamide. For example, when I slow cook pork, it only gets to about 260 degrees, well below the 285 degrees threshold where acrylamide forms. The next tip? Focus on whole foods, not refined stuff. Processed foods are the real killers here. But if you do eat junk food, pair it with something that can neutralize acrylamide's effects. What can you eat to neutralize acrylamide? Here's the antidote. Cruciferous vegetables, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, arugula, and cabbage. These contain protective compounds that fight acrylamide. Garlic. It has properties that protect against acrylamide. Sprouts, broccoli sprouts for example, are packed with protective compounds. Foods high in vitamin C, sauerkraut, citrus fruits like lemons and limes, and bell peppers. Green tea. It's another great way to protect against acrylamide. Spirulina. This superfood can also help neutralize acrylamide. Now let's talk about coffee. How can we reduce acrylamide in coffee? Since coffee is roasted, acrylamide forms during the process. But here's the good news. Drink organic dark roast or espresso coffee. When coffee is roasted at high temperatures, up to 400 degrees, acrylamide becomes unstable and breaks down. Light roast coffee, on the other hand, has 10 times more acrylamide than dark roast. So, if you're a coffee lover, stick to dark roast. Now, let's get a little more technical. I want to explain exactly what's happening in this chemical reaction. It's called the Maillard reaction. Here's how it works. A specific amino acid called asparagine, found in corn, wheat, rice, and soy, combines with refined sugars like high fructose corn syrup or fructose. When you crank up the heat above 285 degrees, 140 degrees, you get the Maillard reaction, and the byproduct is acrylamide. But it doesn't stop there. Acrylamide then creates another byproduct called glycidamide, which is even more deadly. Glycidamide is the real cancer-causing villain here. This is why it's not just about reading labels. You have to understand that some of the most dangerous substances are created during processing. When you look at ultra-processed foods, you're not just getting empty calories, you're getting a cocktail of harmful chemicals. Here's the scary part. 67% of a teenager's calories come from ultra-processed foods. Over 50% of an adult's calories come from ultra-processed foods. Even 46 to 47% of a toddler's calories come from ultra-processed foods. The second most common cause of death in the world is cancer. And while we all know about smoking and drinking as risk factors, acrylamide is a potent and often overlooked cause of cancer. I hope this video has given you enough information to be aware of acrylamide and avoid it as much as possible. And if you do happen to eat it, you now have the antidote to counter its effects. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insights on how to protect your health. Remember, knowledge is power, and now you have the tools to make smarter choices. Stay safe, stay informed, and I'll see you in the next video.